Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm excited to welcome you to our webinar today, where we'll be sharing our tips and tricks for backing up Microsoft 365 data. Before we get started, I just wanted to cover a handful of housekeeping items. First of all, please ask your questions. And you can do that where you see the little A in the desktop or in the web view. Submit your questions throughout the entire webinar. We will have time at the end for Q&A, but if possible, we might even be able to answer questions as we go through the webinar. And then we also uploaded a handout for you, which you can find under that little B in your desktop or in your web view. That's our data sheet for our Microsoft 365 backup solution. And you find it one in English. That's the one that starts with ENG. And you have the same version, but in German. That's the one that starts with the DE that you can download and keep. And then, of course, we will be recording this webinar. So we'll send out the recording shortly after. Give us a day or two, and then you'll get the recording sent your way and you can listen to it again. And then, very important, I know if you can't hear me, you hopefully can at least see my mouse movement and see if there's something going on with your audio settings. Maybe your speaker's not selected correctly, etc. Or if you just have audio issues throughout the webinar. GoTo has actually a really good troubleshooting guide that can help with figuring out why you might not hear anything of our presentation. Outside of that, I hope you enjoy today's webinar. I have with me Nathan Forage, or Nate, who is our VP of Strategic Solutions. He has been working with NovaBACKUP for nearly 2 decades now. He started originally as a sales engineer, but he is now responsible for our product development and for our support. And then myself, Josephine Forage, I have been in the tech industry for a bit more than 15 years, and of that, close to 4 years now with NovaBACKUP. And I'm the managing director for NovaBACKUP Europe GmbH. I'm also leading the global marketing team. And today, we want to talk about the importance of Microsoft 365 backup and just share a few best practices and use cases with you. We will have a live demo. Nate will show you what our solution looks like. And then at the end, as I promised, we will have a Q&A section and take care of all of your questions throughout as well. Okay, let's get started. Microsoft 365, this is the specific SaaS solution that we're talking about today, is probably one of the more known ones, but obviously not the only one. So SaaS applications or general applications that store data in the cloud are a vital part of the business landscape today, right? Cloud data and SaaS are really ingrained in the business. Think about CRM systems, mail platforms, collaboration tools, all of these things. And that's not just, as I said, right, home users, it's also more and more in the business world that we're seeing data being stored in the cloud more and more. And that is only going to continue. Like the growth of cloud usage and spending for cloud will only continue, even though we are seeing that businesses think more and more about hybrid environments. So a lot of businesses want to go away from all cloud to a mix of cloud and on-prem, but still the cloud part is going to be just a big topic continuing for businesses. And that's just because it has so many advantages. Cloud scales quickly. You don't have to worry about any hardware or maintenance or any of those things. You can monitor whatever it is you're doing in the cloud from everywhere where you have an internet connection. It is great for distributed data. It's great for distributed workers. As I said, it has just a lot of advantages. On the flip side, cloud also has a couple of challenges. The one that we hear most about, of course, we're a backup company, is that managing data protection in particular is more challenging for cloud data than it is for on-prem. And we see cyber attacks increasing on cloud data. So it's really important to think about, how do I protect my data that is stored in the cloud? And there are a lot of ways, right, on protecting data to take care of enabling the access or managing the access. So some of the things that might come to mind first are things like encryption and key management, like a lot of preventative measures to avoid access to the data, but what happens when those preventative measures fail? What happens when the data in the cloud itself gets encrypted by ransomware, or when something gets deleted accidentally or otherwise harmed? We see a lot about key management, encryption, etc., but backup is really rarely considered. That is important, though, when those preventative measures fail. So let's remedy that and talk a little bit more about backup today, because even cloud data wants to be backed up. And we already know when we talk backup for on-prem solutions, we know the advantages of that. We know that it is important to back up the computers that you have in your office, the data that is sitting in your office. And we're even using the cloud as an off-site destination, but that data that already lives in the cloud also needs support. And since we are talking specifically Microsoft 365 today, Microsoft actually operates under what is called a shared responsibility model. So information and data recoverability really fall into the responsibility of the customer of Microsoft. So what that means is Microsoft handles the system availability essentially, but you as the user, you or your customers, are required to protect their own data. They're actually, when you look into their service level agreements, Microsoft is actually recommending that you regularly back up your content and data using a third-party app. But there are really many reasons. That is specifically what Microsoft says, but there are many other reasons why Microsoft 365 data should be backed up. And Nate, that's why I would like to pull you in to tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what are reasons why you should back up your cloud data?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you touched on a couple of them, but when you say data loss, that's I notice a lot of the names here in the webinar today, and a lot of you guys are already partners or MSPs with us already. I've talked to a few of you that might have already been hit by some of these things, especially a while back. There was a large hosting provider that was doing exchange level hosting, and they had a large data loss thing, and being able to recover from that is something that's very difficult if you're not doing a cloud-based backup like this for Office 365 or M365, whatever Microsoft wants to call it today. Data loss can be something that happens on Microsoft 365's on their side. It can be something that could be something where an employee that's leaving or something like that deletes all their data and or deletes a bunch of stuff that you don't notice, or no one is informed until Microsoft's 30-day window is expired, and all of a sudden that data is gone, and getting that back without having a good way to back up and recover that data is a lot. And then we talk about we deal with a lot of people that have compliance concerns for their data backup, but that compliance also has to go into everything that you're doing in the cloud too. So being able to recover and deal with things that is hosted on the cloud, not hosted on-prem, with Microsoft 365, being able to recover mail, OneDrive. Microsoft's pushing OneDrive really, really hard, and they're making it almost impossible not to deal with it now. So being able to recover stuff from that is a big thing, and that kind of goes into that business continuity. What if all of your important data, like all of your marketing data or sales data, etc., is split up between OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, and all that stuff? If you're not backing that data up, you can find yourself in a very large hole. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So yeah, and when we talk about 365, it's not just mail. It's OneDrive, it's SharePoint, it's Teams, it's people's calendars, tasks, etc. And some of the retention policies, like Josephine said, the default, the only retention policy that Microsoft gives you is a 30-day retention policy, which is not going to be something that is agreeable to a lot of customers out there, especially when you have to take into compliance issues and other things. You know, it's one of those things where they don't give you any options, so you need to have something that you can give your customers or even yourself an option to be able to back up and recover data that might be outside that 30-day window. I think that's most of the stuff I wanted to go through on that. Josephine, did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it well and showed, like, explained why we really need SaaS backup and what are the reasons for its importance. And I think it would be good to see, you see my slide already on live demo, but seeing what that means and what that looks like and how you can accomplish the things you just talked about.
Certainly. So I'm going to go over just a high-level demo. I'm not going to go into every feature function or anything like that. So let me just make myself presenter, and I will show. Josephine, is this good? The view? I have a monitor that kind of makes things small. I just want to make sure it's viewable for people.
I think it's okay. Can you do maybe one step, zoom one step in? Does that work for you? I think
Yep, that's good.
Yep.
Okay. Just making sure. You know, sometimes it looks a little weird. So this is the dashboard for our 365 backup solution. So in this case, I have demo stuff. I have a couple mailboxes backed up here and that type of thing. But what I want to show you is, you know, the mailboxes are here, and I can go into, say, this mailbox, and it'll actually show you all the mail that is backed up for this particular one. So how it backs up the mail is not just like one large dump or anything like that. It's actually mail, piece of mail by piece of mail, which is really good, especially for those large mailboxes that you know, might be 50, 70, 100, almost 100 gig in some cases on some of our executive mailboxes. I'm not going to point any names out on there, but we have some large ones. But it goes by mail. But the really cool thing is you can do searching, but you can also download this entire mailbox as a PST file, which I like, because if you're offboarding someone, you know, someone's leaving or what have you, instead of dealing with you know, putting them in legal hold or something like that, you can just download the entire PST file without doing like a bunch of PowerShell stuff or anything like that. It's also a way to have like an archive of that PST file for local reasons if you want, without having to deal with how slow Outlook is to grab that. The other thing is, you know, we're talking about mail here. This is OneDrive, so this is going to be all the OneDrive things that are there. So if I dig into, say mine, it'll show me all this stuff, and I can go in here and look at this particular folder, and I could, you know, pull down one of those files if I needed to recover it. See, this will also show in my context of my mailbox. It's going to be email, OneDrive, contacts, calendars, tasks, everything. So it really does grab everything on that. There was already some questions about SharePoint. So SharePoint, you can tell it which particular sites that you want to back up and your cover and that type of thing, especially for the files that people are holding in SharePoint. That's, you know, that's the back end for Teams for files and that type of thing. But it can also go into Teams, and Teams can, you know, you can back it, restore single chat sessions and that type of thing. I think if I go into, let's see, yeah, support team, I could go into here and I can look at channels here, and I'll go into this one. This is an old one. It'll actually show you the chats in there, that type of thing. So it is very, very in depth in what you can do from this portal itself. There's something that I really like though. So in the searching of this, this searching is actually well above what you can even do with Outlook in my mind. So say I want to search this mailbox. I want to search, you know, hey, this date range. Actually, I want to go from not there. I want to do from here to there. and then I can say, hey, I just want a keyword of, say, full. And it's going to bring up the piece of mail that I was looking for, and it's going to, this is just a report from one of our backup software, and I could download that if I wanted to. I could copy it, etc. So there's actually quite a bit that we can do from within this dashboard. I just kind of want to show you one other thing before I go back for some questions, because it looks like there are some questions here. How easy it is to add like a mailbox on this. If I can just go here, I could say, you can have it auto discover, so anytime a mailbox is added, it'll actually add it. But in this case, I am going to just go directly in with here, assuming things are going to work for me today, assuming 365 is going to be good. Yeah, so it's going to allow me to choose any mailbox I want. So say I want to back up this particular mailbox and add this to my backup. It's just going to add that to it. And then what it's going to do on the dashboard, it's going to show this one. It's already going to start backing it up, and that's as much as you need to do. You don't have to schedule things or anything like that. It's going to back it up. By default, 3 times a day. We have 2 different types of licensing. One is like 3 times a day. The other one is a constant backup. So a couple questions while I'm here, because I see my question thing filling up. So one of the things that it does do, there's some questions about OneDrive and that type of thing. Yes, it will back up all of your documents in OneDrive and that type of thing, and go from there. I think that's, I'll go through some of the other questions in our Q&A session, but I think that's most of the stuff I want to go through. Josephine, if you want to take it back over.
Yeah, before I take it back over, can you maybe tell us a little bit more about backup versus archive, and just how often things back up in those 2 versions?
Yeah, certainly. So our 2 versions are, I'll call it 365 backup and 365 archive. 365 backup backs up all of the stuff 3 times a day. So it's 3 times a day, and you don't have to set the schedule. In fact, you can't set the schedule, because we're basically limited by Microsoft's API calls, like the amount of calls we can do at a time. Whereas the archive does a constant backup, as an email is coming in or something like that, it'll back that up at that point. With archive, there's some other options for compliance. So if I go to like for e-discovery and some other things, there's a bunch of things that you can do with the archive portion when you're talking about e-discovery compliance issues, long-term, like year worth of retentions, that type of thing. So if you want to keep the data for a long time, and you want to make sure that as an email comes in, it is backed up, or as things are done, it's backed up, you want to go with the archive option.
Awesome, thanks. I think that's important.
Yeah,
all right. I'm taking over real quick. Okay, so there were a lot of things that Nate just showed, and a lot of things that I talked a little bit about at the beginning. So to summarize it, facts about Microsoft 365 backup, and just things that maybe helping understand that it is not just email backup, but a whole lot of more. And that's already point 1 on my list. Microsoft 365, first of all, the program itself is not just email, right? There's a lot more to it. We already talked about SharePoint, we talked about OneNote and all those type of things. So the same then is true for Microsoft 365 backup. So when we talk about it, we talk about protecting all the data that is in your SharePoint, in your Teams, in your OneNote, in your calendar, and I can go on and on and on, but all these things really. As Nate just showed at the end, right? It's a necessity really for compliance, for e-discovery, those type of things. So if you are in an industry that has really tight regulations on how you have to protect your data, having a Microsoft 365 backup solution helps you adhere to those compliance and to those regulations. Same if you have a cyber insurance, that backup will help you to adhere to those values that the insurance requires. You can have point in time and continuous protection. Very important when you think about business continuity. And I don't mean that marketing buzzword business continuity, but I mean if you lose your data, either in its entirety or parts of it, and that data is crucial for your business to run, having a backup solution will ensure that you can continue with your backup without losing a day or a week or a month worth of revenue, interactions, etc. So the question really is, at the end of the day, how long can you afford having your data be gone before your business basically falls apart? And a Microsoft 365 backup solution really helps with that, especially when you think about the archive version of it that truly continuously backs up everything as data occurs and makes sure that you have everything to the last second. Also, an interesting fact, really, there is an option for an immutable backup for Microsoft 365, meaning that the backup itself, that the backup itself cannot be changed. Really interesting when it comes to protection against ransomware, right? That even if the original data might have gotten encrypted, but the backup itself, because it is on an immutable storage, cannot be changed, meaning you can then recover everything from your backup immediately and none of your data is gone for long. And then lastly, it's not really something that has to do with backup, but that search function is amazing. I don't know about you, but I struggle with Outlook, or even worse with that web version of Mail. With that search function, I have a hard time finding emails, especially when they are a little bit older. So I really appreciate that search function in the Microsoft 365 backup solution, making it so much easier to find something. Very helpful also, for example, if an employee left, but you have the backup from their emails, you can search for some customer communication that they might have had, or an important document that you need that might have not been stored somewhere else. So it is really helpful to keep your business running and not recreate anything. Nate, anything that I might have missed here?
Yeah, one of the things I might have glossed over a little bit is the recovery is very simple, as you saw a little bit, but it's a lot simpler. So even if Microsoft has the data with it and it's within that 30-day window that they give you, it's actually a lot easier to recover directly from this portal than through Microsoft portal in my experience, because it gives you a little bit more control of where things are going and that type of thing. That's one of the things that I really like about how this platform really works. Is it's pretty simple, and it's not changing every other week, unlike Microsoft's portal. Their
Yeah.
admin portal is great, but man, sometimes you go into it and you know where things are, and then the next week it's just like gone and totally switched up. That's why I like having something that is simple, straightforward, and you can get to what you need to do.
Awesome things. Okay, so with that, I wanted to just spend a quick second on talking about what we do outside of Microsoft 365 backup, and I see there's one question that kind of leads to that as well. So NovaBACKUP is not just a vendor for Microsoft 365 backup solutions, but we are supporting Windows servers and PCs for all your backup and restore needs, including Exchange, SQL, and Hyper-V and VMware. And our goal really is to make your data protection as easy and simple and reliable as possible. And if something happens, you can actually restore your data easily, quickly, etc. And that for both local and cloud data. So you can back up your data locally for your Windows servers or for your virtual machines, and you can back that up to the cloud. For the Microsoft 365 solution, that is a cloud-to-cloud backup. And then if you want to test that yourself, please feel free to request a trial. You can drop in a message here saying like, hey, I would be interested. We are offering a 30-day trial version of this. This would be a quick setup with either Nate or one of our other colleagues. You get access to the platform, and then you can test everything yourself and can see what it looks like in a bit more than 2 minutes. And as I said, we uploaded our data sheets, one in English, one in German. Feel free to download those and use those for your perusal. If you want to request a trial or have any other questions after the webinar, feel free to send us a quick email or give us a call. Here are the contact details for our US and for our European office. And with that, we can actually hand it over to the Q&A. And I already know which question will come up, very likely. So I'll cover that right away while Nate looks through the questions and figures out which one we want to answer first, and that is pricing. So first of all, the Microsoft 365 solution is an add-on to our NovaBACKUP server or business essentials solution. So you can add that on top of everything. And we have an option where we, or generally, we charge per mailbox. If it is a backup only function that you are interested in, that is, the list price is $3 per mailbox. For the archive function that includes the backup but has those archive, the tags, the e-discovery, the audit logs, all those kind of things, and then the continuous backup of it, that is at $4 per mailbox. We start at a 50 mailbox minimum per month. If you are already a NovaBACKUP Cloud customer, so if you're using our NovaBACKUP Cloud already, that minimum falls away and you can just get started with us right away on a per mailbox basis. But those are the two options that we offer. And again, if you have detailed questions about your specific situation, or if you want to know what your partner discount is, please just give us a quick call or send us an email and we help you with that immediately. Okay, Nate. Questions. I see there are a bunch of questions in here and we have a handful of minutes left. Which one do you want first?
Yeah, so a number of questions. So this is not, I mean, to be clear, this is not a module or something that you can do from within the normal NovaBACKUP client. This is a separate thing that's priced separately that you do actually have to go into a portal in order to set up and do. Yeah. And if you want help, if you want to try it, that type of thing, and that type of thing, please contact us and we'll get you going on it. There are a few other people that are asking about how to get into it, so just let us know. We are going to follow up with you if there's any questions here. If you put your information here, we will contact you and make sure that you there are a couple of people that already are using this and had some questions, so we'll get with you and make sure. But a lot of it looks like it's pricing questions that you've already went through, or how it kind of works.
Oh, there's a good question on cloud.
Yep. I see it too. So where is the data stored? So we have three options for this. We have a US data center, a Canadian data center, and a German data center. So depending on where you need that data stored, we can accommodate you if one of those three data centers works for you. Was that what you were going to talk about, Josephine?
Yes, thank you.
And
I know because I see we have a couple of European partners on the call as well. So definitely thanks for pointing out that we have a cloud in Germany as well. We know the restrictions in Europe, especially in Germany, are really high. So we want to make sure that your data is protected accordingly.
Well, and in Canada, Canada.
True, very true. Canada is becoming
laws in, yeah.
Yeah. Canada is becoming or is adding more and more compliance and regulations that are very close to what Europe is doing.
Yep.
Awesome. Do you see any other questions that we want to cover?
I think that's all the things that I wanted to cover. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, and we're at the end of our time anyway. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for spending your morning or your afternoon with us and learning more about the importance of Microsoft 365 backup and our solution in particular. Again, if you have questions, if you want to test it yourself, feel free to give us a quick call or send us an email. We'll send out the webinar and the data sheets again after the webinar ended. Again, give us a day or two to get the recording going. And then keep your eyes peeled. We also are preparing an ebook with a bit more information on generally Microsoft 365 backup. You will be the first one to get that as well. And then I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us.